I'm Mr. Simons, and in this video we're looking at Year 9 and 10 Commerce and Introduction to Employment. In this video we're going to look at the different types of employment. So we're going to look at full-time employment, part-time, casual, self-employed, and voluntary and unpaid. So these will be the headings for each of the sections we're going to look at. So, some quick vocab before we start. Some terms we need to know. First thing we need to know is entitlements. Now, entitlements are non-wage benefits for workers, such as sick leave. So entitlements are benefits workers get that are not about the money they receive from the job. The other quick vocab is this word loading. Now, loading means extra pay that some employees get because they don't get entitlements. So we're going to see that casual employees don't get entitlements, but they do get higher hourly rates of pay. So this is the idea of loading. Now, the other term is something called pro rata. Pro rata sounds very weird. Pro rata means proportion of normal full-time benefits related to the hours worked. Oh, so confusing. Here's how you should think about it. If I work 60% of the full-time hours, then I get 60% of the benefits. That is how pro rata works. Okay, that's our quick vocab. Let's get into the content. Our first type of employment is full-time employment. So we've got a doctor there on our screen as our full-time worker. Full-time employment is the most common type of work in Australia. Most employees are employed in full-time occupations. Full-time employment is around about 38 hours a week, so around about kind of 7.5 hours a day, 5 days a week. The good thing about full-time employment is you get access to entitlements. So you get things like sick leave, you get paid when you go on holidays, you get a larger amount of money because you're working more hours. There are lots of benefits in terms of entitlements and also the financial side of things. Another thing about full-time employment is you are employed on an ongoing basis, a permanent basis. You don't work for a couple of weeks and then that's it. You're employed on a permanent basis. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of full-time employment? Remember, we've got our doctor representing full-time employment here. The advantages there on the left-hand side relate to money. You get paid more money because you are working more hours and you're expected to be at work longer. The other thing which is good about full-time employment is you are employed on an ongoing basis. So it's unlikely you're going to lose your job very quickly. But there are disadvantages with full-time employment. Have a look at this painter on the right-hand side here. With full-time employment, you have less time to do some of those other fun things you like painting. So full-time employment gives you less time with your family, less time to do your hobbies as well. Okay, part-time employment. Part-time employment is a permanent employee, so they're still employed on an ongoing basis and they work a set number of hours each week. So maybe they do 20 hours or 15 hours. So they do the same number of hours and usually the same number of days, but it's less than full-time. Now they receive entitlements. Remember, entitlements are those non-wage benefits. They get them on a pro rata basis. So if I work 60% of a full-time hours, then I'll get 60% of the benefits. It is applied on a pro rata basis. So the advantages of part-time employment, well, on the left-hand side, if you work part-time, you work fewer hours, you have more time to do other things, such as spend time with your family. The disadvantage of part-time employment is that you are going to earn less money. And you can see here that time is money. So if you are spending less time at work, you will be earning less money overall. So these are some of the disadvantages and advantages of part-time employment. The other advantage with part-time employment is that even though you work less hours, you still get entitlements, which is not the same for all employees. Now we come to casual employment, and there we have a waitress on the side preparing. Casual means you're working when required by the employer. So you work different hours each week, you might work different days each week. If the employer needs you, they bring you in. If they don't need you, you don't work. So the pay rate, how much you get paid, has what's called a casual loading. Now remember that word loading from the vocab at the start. So a casual loading means that casual workers get 15 to 20% more per hour than full or part-time workers. And you might say, why is this the case? Well, they get a loading because they don't get entitlements. They don't get sick leave or holiday pay. If a casual employee does not turn up to work, they do not get paid. Let's have a bit more of a look at casual employment. So in terms of the advantages and disadvantages, we know that a casual employee has lots and lots of flexibility. They have lots of opportunity to say, yes, I want to work. No, I don't feel like working. They have that choice. But they don't receive entitlements. And if they don't work, they don't get paid. So you have to weigh up the flexibility with the fact that you will not receive extra benefits that are not related to wages. And also if you don't work, you don't get paid. Now we come to people that are self-employed. These people work for themselves. They run their own businesses. So they receive all the rewards for their efforts, but they take all the risks of the business. So we can see our self-employed worker there with their phone and their coffee. Maybe they're a freelance writer or a freelance programmer. They are doing the work for themselves as their own business. So if I am self-employed, there are a number of advantages about being self-employed. Okay, I can make decisions about how and when I work. I can choose my own hours. I can keep all of the proceeds of my business and the profits. So after I pay my expenses and my tax, I keep all the money left over. Disadvantages, well, you're responsible for everything. If something goes wrong, well, it's going to be your problem. Also, it's very hard to take breaks if you are that person that runs the business. You can't just get up and go for a holiday without making arrangements. So a final type of employment that we're looking at is the volunteer, so unpaid. So we've got some volunteer firefighters over on the right-hand side there. So a volunteer worker receives no financial payment. They do it to give something back to society. So a volunteer is there, they're giving back to the community, they're helping the community, and they're not looking for a reward. So their work may be undervalued by society. You wouldn't be able to put together a living just by doing volunteer jobs. But they do serve a very, very important part of our community.